she talked to the father. The father's like, I never saw him. It's like, oh, well, that's the end of Sunday school for Eric. He's not he's not going to post. I was not going to post for that shit. I was like, look, I got better things to do with my time than sit in Sunday school. A little heathen.
We're gonna have to go with Thoren today. I can't figure out how to change my background.
Oh, Thoren's fun. Yeah, that works. It was his birthday 2 days ago. He's got that fight. The fight on this Thursday. So we got.
Yeah.
I will be in attendance watching Thorn as a small underdog, going in ready to take on a good challenger. That'll be fun. There's a free fight card on tonight right now. Actually, getting ready to start on ESPN, which should be. Yeah, I don't really know a lot about the fighters. It's
Ray Vargas.
Vargas fighting tonight. I mean, nobody gives a shit. Boxing. I sometimes want to take the boxing and people and be like, are you guys like collectively the most retarded group of people that have ever existed? You've got a dead period of time with no fucking sports except for baseball, which is barely a sport. And you've got, a captive audience Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday's your only day where you'd have to compete against the UFC, but really you're competing against baseball and UFC. That's not much.
Yeah.
And they just throw on shit cards and they haven't loaded up. They should be loading up. If you're a promoter, you should be loading up, 2-3 times a week, even with cards that aren't big cards, just so people have something to watch so that they can start to get vested in the sport. And you could do that all day because everybody's dying for something to watch. Every husband now.
And then they put this thing they're putting on tonight's not compelling. They should. Yeah. So nobody's excited for this fight.
No, the next fight worth a shit is the Ryan Garcia fight. And again, think about all the lost opportunities there. You've really got, 60 days to play with where the world is yours. And they just collectively just suck each other's cocks and put on shitty ass product.
A big fight coming up that a lot of people care about. I know, not the purists, but it is the Paul Rockman.
Yeah, that'll be a fun fight. I typically don't care about Jake Paul fights, but I actually care about this one because he's fighting a real guy, real boxer, and a heavyweight.
And give him credit, man. He's got 5 fights. He's already, when I had my 5th fight, it was a guy out of a garbage can. This is a legit fight.
Yeah, and listening to people that question whether or not that Woodley knockout was real, those are those people have no idea what they're talking about. Nobody takes a dive like that. They
still got to pay for their ticket.
Well, yeah, but if you think it's rigged because of Woodley, you know what I mean. You have no business watching the sport because it looked like he was coming low and then came up high, and you could see Woodley dropped his hands thinking he was going to the body. And
I've caught that. I've caught guys with that same exact move. I could show you an example of that. Slow it down. My arm does the exact same thing, and I come over top and knock the guy out.
Yeah, the brain is, easily, you run into rote memorization, muscle memory. And if you get enough of the same things, your brain sees what it sees, it reacts to what it reacts to. And if it's not what you think it is, it can happen in a blink of an eye, and it can happen to anybody. I mean, right. I don't think there's a fighter alive, including Floyd, who probably got hit 5 times good in his entire career, like 5 good solid punches in his whole career where he was hit hard.
And what was that? I mean, those were overhand style punches.
Overhand,
weird
looking punches that you just don't expect to come back. And that seems to be a thing that's popping up more now. You see it with Ennis, you see it with Betterbeef, where these guys, and Kid Austin does it too, where these guys are coming around on that hook, and they're not coming to the front of the head anymore. They're going towards the back of the head to get around the glove to fit.
You go towards the back. That's how you're taught to do it by guys that know.
Yeah.
Even though you're not supposed to hit a guy in the back of the head, you're taught to almost curl around right under the ear, behind the ear, on the ear, If you can hit a guy there on the temple, then you're knocking his equilibrium off, and it's almost like the pitches, man. You know, a spitball. You don't know where the hell it's coming from or going. You know, it's hard to defend.
It also forces you, you know, if you get hit by one of them and you do start to get a little equilibrium issue, it forces you to cover a wider area with those gloves, and the more area you cover with those gloves, the more.
Can you pull a fight up? Can you pull a fight up?
Yeah, I can pull a fight up. What do you got?
Pull my 5th round of James Johnson 2. Jimmy Lang versus James Johnson 2, 5th round.
Dude,
it's a perfect example of it.
This is gonna be a problem, because I'm gonna bail on this, because it's gonna take me 10 minutes to
just bail. It's exactly what you're explaining. It's you just can't time it.
Yeah, you can't, and you're starting to see it pop up a lot. I mean, better be in his last fight, almost every punch was just like that. It was getting around the guard of Smith, and Smith had no answers, and you could see Smith wanted to stand up straight. He just couldn't. His equilibrium was fucked.
You know, you don't want to hit a guy on top of the head, you break your hand. But a lot of guys, they have a way of holding their hands, and they beat that top of the head all night long, and the guys just can't take it. It ends up just wearing down.
So I this is not unusual, but I had somebody very angry with me last night on social media because of my top 10. They did not like my top 10. Specifically, they wanted Usyk higher. They wanted Spence higher. You know, and they thought they had no problem with Shakur, but they really had a problem with where I had Usyk and Spence. In the meantime, I'm like, they're in my top 10. I mean, I think Usyk is pretty low down there on like 8, but Usyk isn't even the best heavyweight if Fury's there. If he's fighting Fury, he's a massive underdog. How the fuck am I going to have him in the top 3? What, is Fury the number 1 right away? You know, that's kind of, and they were really mad about Spence. And I'm like, dude, Spence flew out of a fucking Ferrari not so long ago. We weren't even sure if he was going to be able to fight again. He looked really good in the comeback, and I have him at number 10. That's pretty good respect. It's not like I'm disrespecting the guy, but
because they were talking about him being way up there before that accident.
He was tossed. Exactly. I mean, the fact that he's even back fighting at this level is spectacular, and absolutely have respect for what I saw from him. But, you know, the guy there was a question as to whether or not he'd be able to fight again, period.
Right.
So the fact that he's back and fighting at a high level. So it really wasn't he was just genuinely mad, but didn't really make any points. He said Inu is, you know, I should have Inu in there. I'm like, Inu's number 6, dickhead. It's like, what do you think? That's disrespecting Inu to be number 6? Like, he's obviously one of my favorite fighters. I loved what he did. 2nd round KO, looked great. Multi-belt champion. What the fuck?
You'll never please everybody, including me. Unless I write the list, I'm not going to be happy with it.
Well, and my list isn't meant to be a traditional boxing list. It's meant to be almost like a fantasy sports list. It's or like an NFL list. It's like, this is what I think is happening now, you know, and let's see when they fight, you know, when they fight real people.
It's almost more of a prediction.
It's more of a prediction. It is. It's like, this is what I see predicted. These are my power rankings, not based on, you know, what boxing typically does, which is your past, like predominantly.
Right.
Like, hey, this is your resume. They look for the resume. I'm saying this is what I see right now. And for a guy like Ennis being number 1, it's one of those things when he steps in against a Spence, or if he steps in against Crawford, or whoever he gets, you're going to find out real quick whether it's the real deal or not. You know, it's going to be put up or shut up, and there's no hiding.
I really like that, and I don't look at my top 10 like that. That's not how I make a top 10, but I really like it because you and me butt heads so much when it comes to current fighters and fighters that already have the resume. That's a great word, is the resume. I'm enormous on the resume. What have you done? not
Yes.
what are you going to do? And you're way on the other side of that. I think that's a very good way to look now that I kind of understand what you mean. Because if you're talking about resume, you're way off, obviously.
100%. Canelo would be up super high. We're not talking about legacy or resume. That's a whole different top 10. Ennis wouldn't even be on the list in that situation. You wouldn't. But you'd be looking at a whole different crew of animals on there, and you'd have Canelo really high. But like he said yesterday, he's like, Canelo should be number 3. And I made the point here before, he got badly outboxed by Bivol. And he didn't get leaned on, and he didn't get overpowered by a bigger man. He looked like the slower, poorer, fundamental boxer against a guy that should have been bigger and slower and overpowering him. That's not what happened. He looked like
he looked like the underdog. He looked like he deserved to be the underdog.
In that last round, Bivol was smiling. He was smiling. He was in total control. Everything that he was throwing from a jab on was landing. He had figured out Canelo, and he knew Canelo had quit. And, as far as having that energy to get in there and fight, he was smiling. That's not, you can't put Canelo, if you go resume, you almost have to make Canelo, number 1 or number 2. But if you go with what you see now, you can't, if you look at it objectively and you look at that fight, you can't put Canelo, up that high anymore. You can't, because he's not the same fighter.
The party is, it's getting late. I'm not saying the party's over, but it's getting late.
I mean, shit, dude. I mean, if you and I had hundreds of millions of dollars, would you wake up and run 5 miles and spend your whole day in a gym and eat fucking grassroots?
The Floyd Mayweathers of the world are few and far between.
Yeah, Floyd still hits gyms at 2, 3 in the morning. It's just what he's built to do. He's a gym rat. There are true gym rats like that. That's the opposite of a guy like Duran. And that's actually how, people probably know the story, some don't, but that's how Ray Leonard got Duran for the second fight. He pushed for it real fast because he knew Duran would be a partying, fat ass, coked up mess.
You're exactly right.
And Duran ballooned to like 190 and then had to cut how much weight? He had to cut a lot of weight.
I'm not making this up. Because Ray told me this. He said the very next morning we were on the phone for a rematch. The morning after the fight, we were on the phone for a rematch.
Yeah, he knew that if he got Duran quickly, that he'd get a fat out of shape partying Duran, because Duran likes to party. He likes to get in there and party. And that's a great tactic, but that's how he got it. But guys, you can't do that to a guy like Mayweather. You can't do that to guys that just love the gym, because those guys.
He walks in the ring the same way as he steps on the scale.
Yeah, it's great to do. That's fucking crazy. I mean, I really wish that. I actually wish, and I'm being serious, I wish that, they'd have a formula for what you actually walk around weighing, and you could lose no more than, let's say, 3% of your weight, and then they'd reweigh you before the fight. You can't be more than 3% bigger.
Yeah, I think that's good. Another guy that was like that that lived it every single day was Hopkins. Hopkins was on, or maybe a pound or 2 away from his weight. He stayed every day.
Well, that's what also made him. If you look at his highlights in his mid 40s, he's so smart, but he really was a guy. He never really relied on great athletic ability, and he was always in shape. So he really looked like pretty much the same fighter, maybe even better in some ways, because he had a few extra tricks. So if he did lose like a 1,000 or 100th of a second on a shot, he had overcompensated by knowing how to set that shot up 100th of a second better. Over the years, he really looked the same. It was crazy.
He was a guy who was able to do fast things slow.
Yeah, methodically. He was not a great
fast things slow. No, he was not a great athlete. He was just a great fighter.
Great
He
boxer.
knew. I can't even say great boxer. He was a great fighter. His instinct was so perfect. You know, when he lost that split second with the right hand, I mean, what did he do? He adapted to where he followed through with the right hand and hit you with an elbow on the chest and bumped you. So you couldn't counter that slower right hand that he was throwing. And he got a lot of knockdowns like that, where he would clip a guy and the elbow would be what really knocked the guy down.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and people like that are few and far between too. Usually you hit that, you know, as soon as you hit 40, there's a pretty big drop off. Actually, for boxing, usually it's 35. You know, 35. Absolutely. You know, it doesn't take long. You know, once you've wrought it, the only exceptions to those rules are the people that just live it and are just in phenomenal shape and have eaten the right shit, gone to the gym the right way. You know, they can delay, they can beat father time a little bit. Maybe they've got some, especially now, maybe they've got some tricks up their sleeve as far as you know, ice buckets and sauna and the right, you know, nutrients and all that, or the right pills and stuff. But it's tough, man. I mean, it happens fast. At 40, you know, you don't want to go out and try to play with 20-year-olds anymore. It's rough. Which again, Floyd was doing that. He was beating Canelo at 40 years old when Canelo was 23. That's insane.
Sure.
It's just fucking insane.
Yeah.
You know, people that
and he didn't just beat Canelo. He took Canelo to school.
Yeah, took him.
That was a man against a boy.
And he'll still say it was just an easy fight. He's like, yeah, it's just really fucking easy, which is not, you know, paying a lot of respect to Canelo. Although guess who came to Canelo's you know, defense when Ryan Garcia started, you know, talking shit was Floyd. He goes, you can't go, you know, basically running to suck up to Canelo, and then as soon as things fall south, you know, you start talking shit.
Yeah.
Which
Sorry about this.
I thought was interesting. Nice chain, by the way.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the lighting right in here, which I'm not gonna do, but fucking dude, I'm on the Orioles bandwagon right now, man. Look at this.
You know, that's the team that I really like. I never was a Nats fan. I was always an Orioles fan.
They're going crazy.
You know, did I ever tell you who my favorite Orioles player of all time was? It's gonna surprise you. But Dan Ford, if you remember who Dan
Ford, Disco Dan, baby.
Yes.
Hot Dan. Black guy with glasses. Pinch hitter.
Number 15. He'd say, he had that very strange stance. You know, I was like, you know, and he'd come in and hit some key stuff in there. So, did I tell you I got shot the other day by a drive-by paintballing?
You were shot by a paintball.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was walking alone. And it was a weird thing. I decided not to bring my daughter. I bring her all the time. There's something that just said, you know, today's not the day to bring her. And, you know, I was out just walking probably about a couple hundred yards from my house, and somebody pulled up and I just heard thoop, hit me in the leg. And I went, and they took off, and I went in the middle of the street and I said, you know, come back. I didn't yell. I was just like, hey, you know, come back. Well, they drove up and they turned around and started to come back. And I said, oh shit, I guess we're gonna, you know, have some fun, see what the old man has. And I convinced them that that was not a good idea. And they reversed their car and took off. But yeah, I
still got it, baby. You're a big dude though. I mean, I wouldn't drive up on you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I think there's probably multiples in the car. I don't know that maybe it was that, you know, we have a neighborhood it's a lot of military people, and I kind of look like I'm ex-military, but I had that olive green military shirt on with a big Florida with the actual state of Florida is actually a gun. And I don't know, whatever it was that I convinced them.
You got that skinhead cut.
Yeah, the short cut. But yeah, that wasn't it. I can't actually say how I convinced them on the air, but I convinced them that it wasn't a good idea, and they decided to hit reverse and take off pretty quickly. But
It's good.
So, yeah.
I hope they're listening to the show.
I hope so too. I thought about not telling my wife because I was like, she's gonna be fucking, she's gonna get, stay inside, don't take a walk, and I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. I got a little welt on the inside of my leg. I have a good story. Who cares? Kids screw around like that all the time.
You got to spice the story up and tell. I want to hear the actually what you said. Is it a legal matter that you're not allowed to?
I didn't. Yes, probably, but I didn't say a word. I didn't say one word, not one word at all, actually.
So what was the convince? Did you just have a stare, like a glare, or what?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it was my whole thought was anybody who was coming back after shooting somebody, they were going to up the ante, because I didn't sit in the middle of the road and be like, fuck you. I didn't say anything. I just said, hey, come back, and I didn't expect them to come back. Well, they turned around and came back. I was like, okay, that means there's multiples. And that means that they're, excited to escalate this. And it's, probably pretty serious. If you're walking around, randomly shooting.
Yeah. And knowing you, I know that you don't go anywhere without your gun.
Well, I fell into the Gulf. So the gun is, it's long gone. All my firearms are at the bottom of the Gulf right now. So it's a damn shame. So
you must be slipping. You don't have replacements yet. You walk the streets without being armed.
Something like that. Yeah, they'll walk my streets. Something along those lines. So yeah, but again, you don't
looking for justice.
Yeah. Well, have you watched Terminal List yet? Have you watched it?
No, I'm not into it. I don't even want to get into it. It just doesn't. I thought you meant it was something completely different.
What do you mean you're not into it? You don't want to get into it?
I don't like military movies, man.
It's not a military movie, dude. It's one scene in the beginning where he's a Navy SEAL, and then it moves into a whole different story. Did you like what's that Keanu Reeves the Keanu Reeves movie where he's the badass John Wick? Did you like John Wick?
Yeah.
This is similar. Not really. You didn't like John
Wick?
No,
I got that thing, man. I first of all, I haven't seen most of the new movies, and I got a bad attitude about them. I'm going to do this for you and for the show. I'm going to screen the first 3 episodes.
Well, if I do it after the first one, you'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
I'm gonna do it. I've been a little bit hectic and busy, hadn't had a chance, but I will screen it and I will give you my honest opinion, and hopefully I'll be hooked.
Well, here's the interesting thing. There's a lot of press about it, and the press is because the critics gave it 33% positive. The public gave it 95% positive. So, it's one of those discrepancies. And the guy who wrote the book is an ex-Navy SEAL, and Jocko and a bunch of other Navy SEALs all, consulted on it. So it's very realistic. You're not going to see scenes where they're shooting at each other and the bullets are getting stuck in a car door or drywall. It's all very real. Or the guy is pointing the gun in the wrong way, or doesn't have a hand on the trigger right. So everything in there is right. But the liberals are very angry with the show. They hate it, and they hate it because it glorifies real men hunting, being a good parent, drinking bourbon, drinking beer, and the assault on corruption and higher power. Those are kind of your underlying themes.
Wow.
And they fucking hate it with a
So
passion.
What happened? You sent me a text about it. You said watch it with somebody that likes badass shit.
Yeah, like watch it with somebody who's not a pussy, basically.
So when I went to watch it, we sat back and I watched it with my 12-year-old son, and then I realized, okay, this is not what he meant. I didn't know it was, it's probably not suitable for him.
The opening scene is really intense by design because the whole series is predicated on the event that happens with the opening scene. So that is the foundation for the entire show, is what happens on the opening scene kind of lays the framework for everything.
We watched what I did was watch the trailer, and I was like, no, this is not going to be what we're going to watch tonight. I just didn't want to take a chance on him seeing some crazy shit that he didn't
no nudity or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's there's no smut in it other than again, gun shooting stuff, which every fucking kid's seen by now.
Yeah.
If you showed them the last Rambo, that last 20 minutes is way more violent than anything in here. That's one of the most violent 20 minutes of cinema you'll ever see.
Well, his favorite movies are the Terminator movies. Those are just crazy, over the top killing.
Yeah, no, if he's seen it, I mean, shit, he's not going to see anything he hasn't seen before. I mean, that's all real basic stuff. So what else do we got? So I wanted to make fun of there's so much stuff that's happened this week. What do you got? Anything that's been on your radar that you want to get off your chest?
I want to give a tribute to, this is like a paradox, okay? I'm not a fan of James Caan.
Oh yeah. And he passed away.
His body of work. I'm not a fan.
Except the Godfather.
Just let me talk.
Yeah.
Somehow that's probably my favorite, most watched character, Sonny Corleone.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything else, I don't like him in. I didn't even like him in Misery. All right. I just don't like him because that's not Sonny Corleone. And it's the same thing that I have with Ray Liotta. I've never liked the Ray Liotta movie because he played such a perfect part. And I can't look at him as anything but Henry Hill.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's sometimes you get so good at one role, it's tough to view somebody somewhere else, especially with you, because you have a hard time with change. It's just part of your.
So Sonny Corleone. I watched Sonny Corleone, and I really liked it. I liked how he was. He was tough and rough, didn't take any shit, and he reminded me so much of my father, and he looked a lot like my father at the time. And I never knew about him getting shot because they kept me from seeing that. And when I finally saw him get shot, they let me see parts of the movie. I'm talking about I was a kid,
Yeah.
And it was like watching. I was like, Jesus, man! I'm watching my dad get shot. It just fucking freaked me out, just because he looked so much at the time like my father,
And he was the hothead, my father.
Yep.
And by the way, when he gets shot, it's a little over the top, but the Tommy guns and everything else. The Tommy guns and the automobiles really changed crime back then, because all of a sudden, you could escape faster and you could shoot more people. So it was
right.
When he got blasted, I think he had like 100 bullet holes in him pretty quickly.
The funny thing with him was he was such a macho. He represented that alpha male so much. But the truth is, he was the weak link. I mean, he was the cause of most of the problems in the movie. He was very weak.
Well, that's kind of the lesson with him, is that emotional weakness is weakness, and that's right. where Michael was so powerful, is Michael knew how to control his emotions.
I mean, if you remember, I don't know when the last time you saw us, but Sonny got his father. Sonny's the one that got his father shot and almost killed. Because he didn't keep his, he was hot for something, and he didn't keep his mouth shut.
His father ends up. You just liked it when he went over and beat the shit out of the guy with a trash can.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And those two really didn't like each other. He let his punches go a little bit, and broke one of the guy's name is Gianni Russo, the guy that played Carlo that he beat up. And he broke 2 of his ribs or something.
He also, the trash can drop was real. Some of the punches.
Yeah. No, those two did not like each other.
Fucking great. Actually, it's funny when you watch him, and again, I don't have the issue like you do, but you named your son after him. So, but I watch him in Elf, and I like him in Elf. They could have put anybody else in there, and it would have been fine.
That's it. Anybody else could have. It's not like he did anything.
No, they couldn't replace Dinklage in that. Everything Dinklage is in, he's fantastic in. Peter Dinklage, the little guy, little midget.
Oh, of course.
Dude, he's fucking awesome at what he does.
Okay. I thought you were talking about Bob Newhart, who's another legend.
Oh, Peter Dinklage, the little guy. No,
okay. Oh yeah, the mid. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the one that attacks. He's an angry elf, and he comes running to attack. He is so good. There's two people that get fucked in the Academy Awards. Midgets get fucked. They aren't going to get. They'll give it to Tom Hanks for being a retard with a fucking with a.
They'll give it to Tom Hanks for playing a tall midget.
For everything, yeah, for playing a tall, for doing anything. Right. So he's one of the club. And then comedy. Comedy is so much harder to act than real acting. You have to actually be funny, and you have to act at the same time while you're being funny. It gets no respect in the acting community.
You know who I think of right off the top is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. Well, he just. Did you see him in Due Date?
Yeah, he's fucking phenomenal. Everything he's in.
You saw Due Date with Zach Galifianakis?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, he does that scene. The scene where, he's talking about his father leaving him. You remember that scene? And it's such a amazingly powerful scene, and then Galifianakis just starts laughing. It's one of the great fucking scenes, but he does a great acting job, and again gets no respect because it's a comedy movie. They don't even
the skill, the dramatic skill to pull that off was amazing.
He's in the scene. You watch him; he's nervously pulling at his tie when he's telling the story, like it's literally painful. Yep. And if you know somebody who's been through painful stuff, they do fidget when they tell. I've got a buddy who. And I've make him tell the story. He's got long, beautiful, hair. He's a very successful Ivy League guy, but he had to leave his wife the day of the rehearsal dinner, like the day before the wedding. So all these people had flown out to Nebraska, of all places.
Oh.
And the day before the rehearsal dinner, he told his best man, he's like, "Look, I can't go through this. I don't want to marry her." And he said, "We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it." Well, the rehearsal dinner comes, and he thinks everybody already knows. They haven't told anybody shit. So he walks in, and everyone still thinks it's on. He thinks that they should know that it's on. So he has to announce at the rehearsal dinner. So whenever he tells the story, he just nervously starts tugging, kind of running his hand through his hair nervously. And by the time the story's over, he's got he's like Fletch. He's got the big ass fucking afro going on. It's funny as shit. He just nervously tells it because you could tell it was one of the most painful moments of his life. Is going, "Guys, I know you flew in here from all over the world for this. It's off." Like to her parents, to her brother.
That's brutal. That's fucking brutal.
Fucking brutal. It's not a new wife, but his wife, her cousin, is first in line to take over the UK as their new prime minister. I'm not going to say the name, but he's
10 seconds back up.
He's in contention for
just start over.
I'm not going to go through all of because I don't want to give away who this is. But his wife, her cousin, is potentially going to be taking over Boris's position. So Boris cucked out to the globalists. He came in as the UK's Trump and ended up being the UK's Trudeau. He became woke,
right,
proper, pronouns. I don't mean to upset you with pronoun talk. I know that you take that seriously, but he took it very seriously. So he's out, and on the short list is my friend's wife's cousin to take over, which is kind of cool. I said I might enter that fucking abysmal country with you, so we can go have fun and have some good drinks. But I only want to go if I go in style. I don't want to go as some schlub, and fight soccer hooligans. I want to, look down like
that's
the
like
king.
That's like the ultimate. I got a guy.
I got a guy. Well, his wife is awesome. So, hopefully that works.
Except it's a woman.
Well, yes. So it's her. It's could be a guy, could be a girl. I didn't say what gender the cousin is, but
You didn't. You didn't.
I would
don't get me upset. I don't want to start with the pronouns.
no gender stuff at all. I don't even want to talk about. So you see, Nancy Pelosi's tits are behind me too, just in case you were curious.
Is that who that is?
Her titties are world famous right now. You've seen her titties? They're famous titties right now. She is the talk of the town. She had huge knockers walking around, and
nice.
Nobody knew. All this time, nobody had a clue that these.
Do you want to explain? Oh, good Lord, Nancy has gotten into you. Good Lord, heavens!
What a bad girl. Yeah.
Gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a brief? They have Biden put out an executive order. Does that matter?
Well, here's the funny thing, and I was saying this before on Roe v. Wade. He actually admitted the truth for once. He actually said something which was true. He always does when he's senile and kind of just talking, and he did in this case. He goes, "We can codify it," and this is what I've been saying the whole time. The federal government, what the Supreme Court said, just said it's none of our business. The federal government could have codified Roe versus Wade as a federal law for the last 30 years, and the Democrats have wasted every chance they could to do so. They never made it a federal law. So now, when the opinion was released prematurely by a criminal in the Supreme Court in order to cause a lot of problems, the Democrats submitted a new law which would codify it. The problem is they decided to go into full infanticide mode and said, let's kill these kids right up to the moment of birth, which only about 12% of people in the country actually agree with, because it's pretty sick. We're not talking about exceptions where, the mother's in serious, health threats. We're not talking.
I know exactly what you're saying.
In general, like open up, no exceptions. Let's just take it out at any time and not think twice about it. So if they wanted to do a first trimester law, that could have been signed 2 weeks ago and calmed everybody down. They've been, kind of punting on their duty because they know that if they miseducate women, and women clearly don't know what the fuck they're talking about. We had that whole session.
That's a soundbite, by the way. Let's try to get some soundbite. That's a great one. Women don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
They don't have a clue with this. They're like, oh my God, our rights, my body, my choice.
Give me it one more time.
My body, my choice. My body, my choice. Well, you finally, for the first time in your lives, here's the funny thing. So you have your 10 commandments, You have your Bill of Rights, your 10 commandments. And then you have the 19th. All right. The 19th amendment of the Constitution is what? Do you know?
Fuck no.
It's women getting the right to vote. So they were so lazy that they waited nine extra fucking things to get the right to vote, because getting the right to vote is huge. And I have my shirt that says, women.
They talk about, I thought about this the other, they talk about the 10 commandments. Your 10 commandments are not my laws.
The Bill of Rights.
But the 10 commandments says, yes, it does. It says you shall not murder. And so does the fucking Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights doesn't. No, it's not. It's
legal to kill somebody?
No, it's not legal to kill, but it doesn't lay out the legalities of.
You're not allowed to kill.
No, thou shalt not kill is 10 commandments. There's no thou shalt not kill in the Bill of Rights. It's just what
I'm not crazy. There's a fucking law that says you can't kill somebody.
Of course, it's a federal law. It's a law in every state. It's a federal law. Yeah, murder is
right.
That's not a constitutional amendment. Constitution is giving you rights. It's not saying what you can't do. The whole purpose of the document is these are your rights from God, not from the government. No government can take it away from you. No government can give it to you. These are your rights as a human being. And we're just going to codify that, put that in place so that governments don't try to take it from you. But it doesn't say, you can't do shit. You know what I mean? That kind of goes against it's power to the people.
I guess but you get my point.
No, not even a little bit. But yeah.
No, fucker. it's a fucking law. You're getting all into the difference between the Bill of Rights and the fucking laws and everything else. Everybody in America there's a law that they cannot kill somebody.
Obviously, yes. And it doesn't stop people who want to do it.
And that has nothing to do with religion.
No, it doesn't.
So when I hear, don't push your religion on me, I'm not pushing my religion on you. I'm pushing the fucking law of the land. Don't kill anybody.
Yeah, well, that's pretty normal. You know what I mean? The religion part, people always fuck that up too. You know, it's so the separation of church and state is always thrown out. All it says, and it's in the Constitution, is that the government shall make no law to either impede or aid a certain religion. So, in other words, you can practice your religion, you can kneel at halftime, you can pray, you can put it on a loudspeaker. We're not going to make a law to say that you can't. We're not going to make a law that says that you can.
Right. That's how it should be.
Yeah. So it's not separation of church and state doesn't mean government and religion can't play in the same room together ever. And that you
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So that's not what so they bastardize it. There is no separation of church and state is not a sentence in the Constitution. The sentence is simply government shall not make any law that either precludes you or supports a certain religion. So they taken that, turned it into separation of church and state, and taken that and turned it into something that it is not, because this original sentence is very clear. So they bastardize. It's wordplay, man. It's fun with words. It's how to get
you made my point.
Yeah, how to get what we want by fucking around with it. So back to the 19th Amendment. So women fought for the right to vote. Okay. This is the first time on the biggest issue ever for women that they're actually able to vote on it, and they're losing their fucking minds. And it may now you understand why it was 19 and not 11 or 12. Because they don't give a fuck about voting. They want to have the government tell them what to think and what they can do, and to mandate it. Mandate, great word for this, right? They want it mandated to force them to think what they have to think, as long as it makes it for everybody. They don't want to vote on it, which is fucking hilarious to me. So, women, if you have that 19th Amendment, you work so hard waiting till the 9th after the original 10, you might want to be happy that you can now vote on it, and then you can vote the way that you want and get what you want. You know, if you're annoying enough, go nag each other and fucking make it happen. Nag your politicians. Leave your husbands alone. Go nag your local politician. I'm sure they want to hear about it.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So that's what's happening there. So one piece of news too, we were talking a little bit about comedians. Howard Stern, I think we should deliver a eulogy for him. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think we should eulogize Stern. We probably need to do a fuller episode on this. I want you to sort of think about some of your favorite moments on the show. But he is not the same guy that we grew up with. He's not there. He's now full. This is a guy who made his entire career on fighting the government, fighting power, pushing back. When the government came down on him, he was getting fined for free speech.
Fighting the censors, baby.
Censored. Left and started really a company. Sirius wasn't that compelling. And really, without him, there's no value to Sirius satellite radio. There really isn't. He built an empire around free speech. Now that he's old and rich, he is the ultimate authoritarian against free speech, against you having autonomy of your body, and thinks that anybody who's unvaccinated should be locked up, and anybody with an opinion that's not his opinion should be locked up. He's talking about running for president now. So, it's sad to watch because, this is a guy who was pretty much a comedic hero for me for years. There was a period of time where I had heard Stern's voice more than any other voice in my life, including my mother, brother, father. I just listened to him 4 hours a day for probably 20 years, every episode.
Yep.
And now he's gone. he's gone. I guess age.
How does that happen? I mean, I don't think it should be chalked up to just hypocrisy. I think that maybe his fucking brain is being eaten away.
Well, Rogan had a great quote on this because he didn't say much on it, but he did say, if you live long enough, your heroes will become your villains. And I thought that was an interesting quote on it. I never really thought about it that way, but in this case, I don't know how it happens where a guy is, I guess the same way it happened that all those people that were at Woodstock, that their entire core of who they were was about freedom, anti-war, peace and love, and small government, moved past Woodstock and past the brown acid and became pro-war, pro-huge government. Once they got into positions of power, your John Kerry's and stuff.
When they didn't have a fucking pot to piss in, it was about being young and being free.
Yeah.
Now that they got all the money in the world, it's about security.
And it's about power. I don't even think it's about security they have. It's about power and imposing their power on other people. And that's where it becomes, for me, even when the other day I got shot, I was like, look, I would have done this dumb shit, when I was a kid. So I don't want to, really hurt anybody for doing something that I would have done. And I'm not injured, I'm not injured at all. So let's keep it at that. Let's make sure everybody walks away in one piece. So these other people though, they'd be like, you know what? Fuck them. I'm calling the cops. I'm going to go chase them. Look, your kid's being stupid. Could that turn out real poorly for them? Yeah, it could have turned out poorly for me too. I did a lot of dumb shit that could have turned out poorly. And by the grace of God, it did not turn out poorly. A lot of it was luck. A lot of it was. But
I've been at a lot of jams where a guy older and wiser just turned the other cheek.
Yeah. No, the first time I ever turned the other cheek was very weird for me. I was in my 30s. I was probably 35, 36. And the old me was picturing the guy was leaning back. I said, hey, do you mind taking a picture? He goes, fuck you, and laughed to his friend. And the old me was like bashing him with my left hand, throwing the other guy's head into the ball behind him with the right, and just going full in. And I just said, all I saw was violence. And I said, let me get the check. Have a good night, you guys. And just rolled out. I was like, look at you growing up. Because in your mid-30s, you can't just go fucking heads into the wall.
Wow.
When I walked away, I was like, you know what? It feels kind of good. And then the other part of me was like, you should have just slammed his fucking head right into the wall. There's always that other part of you, but hey, good job, buddy.
You know what that guy did? You know what he did later that night? He went out and date raped his girlfriend.
He probably actually went out and started a fight. I think.
You probably didn't do. If you'd have hit him, you would have probably kept something else bad from happening. So you should have hit
it. Right? Yeah. Well, I was with a bunch of pretty girls, and he was with his guy friend, and I was like, if I hit him, and I go to jail, my night, I'm in a good position here. He's maybe, who knows what his days be, right? His life could be really bad, and mine isn't. So let me get the fuck out of here before mine becomes bad. But that's tough to do. But a lot of these people, back to the original point, a lot of them don't, keep that empathy of what they were like when they were younger. Right. I still remember, I was probably 7 years old. Maybe I was 7, maybe I was 6. And then one of my dad's friends came in and he talked to me like I was a baby. What are you doing, little? And I remember looking at him going, why the fuck is he talking to me? Like, literally, I'm like, why the fuck is he talking to me like I'm a child? I'm not a child.
I hate that.
I stamped it in my head. I said, remember this. Don't ever talk to a kid like that. Talk to him like an adult. Nobody wants to be talked to like a baby at the age of 7.
That's right.
So, you have to remember what it's like at certain ages, and kind of treat people with respect. And at some point, these people have forgotten to empathize with their old them and have just gone in a full direction of, I'm a pampered celebrity worth a lot of money and I'm somehow special, and this wasn't, a lot of it was skill, a lot of it was hard work, but a lot of it was also some luck along the way. And it doesn't mean you're special, just because
maybe they didn't count on being, when they were going through all that crazy stuff, they didn't count on being where they're at now.
Probably not. I mean, the Howard Stern movie, he was making no money. He was in Detroit. He was fired a lot. I mean, it lays out that, he had a struggle. It's kind of funny that he did an homage to his wife that he then broke up with and started banging like supermodels and artists and stuff pretty immediately.
I heard that she was the one that cheated on him, though. Is that true?
His wife cheated? It may be. I mean, I
break up the marriage.
I mean, he's got OCD and doesn't go out. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's no picnic, 24/7.
Yeah.
He's a neurotic Jew from New York with OCD and a workaholic and a fantastic. I mean, part of the reason that show is so successful is that he has a formula and he runs it. He's got his interviews are amazing because of the research. They get every bit of detail. He knows exactly what he's going to ask. There's no, he has all that information ready to go in order and just runs it like a top. But now, he's old. If you listen to his show now, it's not the same show. It's not the show that has Marge Schott, where they had Marge Schott on there.
Yeah.
Not
classic.
It's not the show where they had, weighing each other's shits.
Hey, I don't give a shit what you say about Jackie Martling. He was a big part of that show.
Huge part of the show. And then Artie, who didn't really replace Jackie, but he sat in, quote, the Jackie chair, brought a great element to the show, and he was reckless as shit when he went to Vegas and just was a disaster.
Yeah, but it was almost too reckless. It wasn't Jackie. Jackie was fucking perfect. Is Fred still on?
I don't know. I haven't listened in. The last time I turned it on was, I don't know, I had a rental car a couple years ago. So I said, let me just listen to Stern. And I put it on and it was 5 minutes. I didn't even make it 5 minutes. If I made it about as far as I did when I went to a strip club on Sunday in Jersey. And I walked in and I bought a beer. You have to buy a beer. You get in, grab the beer, took a sip and said, get me the fuck out of here. Cause it was disgusting. It was just a bunch of fat girls. And I made it about that far. And I said, it's just not the same show. It's politically correct, ranting about politics. Nobody really cares. People, even on this show, we don't really rant about politics too much, try not to, but nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear that shit. They have their own bigger issues right now. They might want to know, hey, why is the gas price what it is?
Look, they want stupid shit, man. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. They want dumb shit to pass their fucking miserable ass drive to work.
That's true. They do. They just want something nice and light. Of course, we're going to cover light, dark, all sorts of stuff. We'll cover shooters. We'll cover all sorts of all that stuff, but we'll try to do it in a light way because people don't need to hear that shit.
That kind of can I, if I could just, one thing I was thinking of, I got a note. Is this the end of of our country? You've been sending out some really fucking dark text to us. Apocalypse. Yes, good. Apocalyptic.
At the end of the country.
Is this this the end? What's going on?
Yes, it's over. It's just in a death throw, and the reason it's in a death throw is financially. Whenever you're $30 trillion in debt with over $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities, you can try to devalue your currency to make it less money to make your interest payments and make it really not worth much. But you're right now the interest payments are higher. So when they raise the Fed fund rate, we can't even make our interest payments without printing new debt. So it's like a toilet. You have a compounding, instead of compounding interest in a good way, we've got compounding interest in a toilet swirl way, where there's no way we can actually pay the debt that we have or the liabilities that we've already committed to without printing more money. When you print more money, the money's worth less and inflation is an issue. So it's a revolve. There's no way out. It's just getting flushed right down the toilet. And the solutions for it are all even more apocalyptic. So the CBDCs that they're talking about, central bank digital currencies, they're already being run in China. It basically means every decision you ever make can be turned on or turned off. If they don't like who you're voting for, they don't like what you say, they can take away your travel. They can say, look, we're not going to let you buy meat. We're not going to let you buy alcohol. They can tell you what to do, how to think, where to think, and everything, because they control your bank account. It's all digital. So it's not a good thing where this is going. The only positive thing is people are waking up. Are you following what's happening in the Netherlands right now?
I'm not. No.
Yeah, there's a big farmer revolt. So they pulled this climate change shit and said there's a nitrogen cap, which basically puts over 50% of the farmers in the Netherlands, which is a huge exporter of farm goods. So we're facing a crisis, a food crisis in the world right now. And it's man-made. It's created on purpose to try to wipe out the population. How do I know that? Because every action is predicated on that. So the gas, the diesel, the shutting down the diesel out of the Ukraine, you can say it's Putin. It's not. It's our decision, every bit of our decision to get involved in this. And now in the Netherlands, the climate people have said we're going to do a nitrogen thing, put half the farmers out of business. The farmers have revolted and started putting shit all over people's, the elected leaders' homes, just putting manure everywhere. They shot at a 16-year-old kid in his tractor, and it just made it worse. Yeah, so it's blowing up. It's like the Canadian truck thing, although the Canadian truck thing got squashed out by Mini Castro. And then in Sri Lanka today, the other globalists that they had over there got run out. The people stormed the temple. He went running with his one suitcase, to jump on a flight and flee. But he's gone. So people,
there was a guy from Japan that was assassinated.
Yeah, the Trump's old friend, really the most popular Japanese prime minister in history, in our lifetime. He was beloved by everybody. Do you remember that old video where they edited Trump and made it look like he was just dumping in fish food? Do you remember that by chance?
Oh yeah.
He was throwing fish food with that guy, with a prime minister who was assassinated and beloved. They're painting him here as a far right or extreme, but he wasn't. He was very much loved in Japan. He was loved here. He was like one of the most popular people ever, and he was.
So who replaces him? Do they have a vote?
He was already out. He was already an X, which makes it more interesting. Maybe he was a threat to come back. I don't know. I don't know why he'd be targeted when he was already out. He must have had too much influence. They must have been threatened by him on some level. I don't know what the catalyst for that killing is. Yeah. Usually you take somebody out who's in power. In this case, he had already ceded his power, but he was probably really fucking powerful and influential still.
Maybe he knew something about Hillary Clinton.
He might have. But it's just like Trump. Trump's not technically in power, but he's still influencing everything.
Right.
Maybe it was something similar to that. I don't know. But
I've thought about that a lot. The hypothetical of them going after Trump. Why it seems like that would have happened already.
Well, I'm told, the rumor has it that the October surprise for this midterm election is that they're going to arrest him in October.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So their big October surprise is
on what crime?
Some literally trumped up charge. Like, yeah, that's kind of the way it works. There's that old Soviet statement: if you show me the man, I'll show you the crime. They've been looking for a crime for him forever. You
talk a lot about DeSantis.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what's good about DeSantis. Tell me what do they got on DeSantis? What are his problems that are going to cause him issues?
Well, just leave him the fuck alone. Leave him in Florida. I don't need him going in an election that
No, but is there any dirt on him?
I don't think so. If they did, they would already have twisted his nipples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you see pretty clearly you would have seen it during COVID if his nipples were dirty, and he could be twisted.
Yeah.
I can tell you the guy that he almost got beaten by, had a little bit of dirt on him. The one we kind of covered that. But yeah, DeSantis, if he was corruptible, we would have seen it during COVID because they wanted him to shut down beaches. He didn't shut down beaches. They wanted him to shut down businesses. He didn't. Florida kicked ass. The rest of the country fucking ate shit. And they're still trying to come after the guy. Now they're mad because he doesn't want to let Disney groom little kids. And they called it the Don't Say Gay bill, which had nothing to do with gay and everything to do with protecting kids under the age of 3rd grade from having people talk about penises and vaginas and him, hers, and trannies,
right,
that aren't in a position to follow. They don't even know Santa exists, and you're going to start filling their head with that fucking horse shit from a teacher's perspective. Those people should be in prison. If that happens in the street, let's say a kid comes up to your daughter, some old man comes up to your daughter, he's like, let me talk about penises and stuff. You punch him right in the fucking face and call the cops. But in the schools, it's cool. So DeSantis did the right thing there, and they hate him for it. And then he castrated Disney a little bit, and Disney's lost like $50 billion in this fight, but they keep on clawing. They keep putting out pro gay, pro tranny stuff. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, just leave it alone. Just go. I don't know. One sec. What?
Do you know what the Kool-Aid is?
Don't give me that shit. Are you serious? You get out of here.
What did he say?
You know where the Kool-Aid is? Fucking. That my boys wouldn't do that. That's Ella. She's just like, she knows that she's the baby and shit.
See, that's one that's gonna be fighting her 19th Amendment right to vote. Be like, look, it's too much trouble to vote. Right.
That's right.
That's the one.
What happened to your boy? I can never remember his name. The Twitter guy. Is that off now?
Huh?
The guy that bought Twitter, is that off?
Oh, Elon Musk. Yeah. Elon Musk has pulled the offer for Twitter. So that's funny as fuck. I love this because first of all, these mergers, when it was like put through, and he goes out and goes, it's not about the money. It's about protecting the town square. Okay. What do you keep doing with your computer? What do you?
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at the Thor. I apologize. Here we go.
But so he goes, look, we're going to protect the town square. So when he got in, he said, give me all the information on the bots, give me this. Twitter fucked around. I think Twitter sabotaged it. He has $1 billion in escrow that goes into the deal no matter what, apparently. Maybe there's an out there somewhere. He'll call it breach of contract, try to get his $1 billion back. But I think, here's what I think the play is here is a bigger play. People aren't reading this. He'll pull out of the deal. Twitter's going to tank. So their original value, his original valuation could come down $15-17 billion because they are not what they said they were. They said 5% bots. It's probably close to 50-60% bots. And if that's the case, you're talking about a huge change in valuation. Twitter's already fired hundreds of people prior to Elon even announcing this. So they knew it was coming and the valuation's going to tank. And I think Elon can then go in, even if he loses his $1 billion original escrow, which I'm sure there will be legal jostling about, he can come in and get this thing at a $15 billion discount or so and pick up the deal right where it is. So I think, let's put it this way. I don't know what's going to happen. This does not mean the chess pieces are off the board.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you, just your hunch, because you couldn't know, I don't think. Is this happenstance, or do you think he planned before he even talked about buying it that this would happen?
No, I don't think I don't. This sort of stuff. If you plan this and it's malicious, you open yourself up to huge lawsuits.
No, if he planned to expose how many bots they have.
Well, he clearly asked for that data, and he's not allowed to divulge the data because when you sign these agreements, there's all sorts of privacy. If you notice, he was tweeting a little bit in the beginning and completely stopped. That's because his attorneys told him to shut the fuck up. There's too many accidental things that you can say that will materially cause damage to the company you're trying to buy.
Right.
That is a huge no-no, ethically and especially financially. So he's got to walk that tightrope. If this thing does fall apart and the value goes down, it has to be because they didn't provide what he needed and because they lied, and their culpability has to go on the company, for being honest, and providing the right data. And then at that point, he can resubmit another bid and do it all over again in a much lower valuation. And the board still has to do what's best for the shareholders. The good thing about that from Elon's perspective is he could save billions of dollars. And at the same time, he's already started the due diligence. So the next time around, there could be less contingencies. So the next bid could be like, look, this is as is. I know that you guys aren't providing all the data, everything else. The original was this. I'm going to knock 15 billion. It's as is. You still have to take it because it's still 25% more than the value of the stock. It's still good for the stockholders. And if you don't take it, you're opening yourselves up as board members to the liability of not doing what's in your fiduciary duty for the stockholders of the entity. So I'm throwing it out there that it does not mean that this is over. The chess game is still active. I don't know where it'll go, but this could just be another quarter. We could be entering the fourth quarter of the game, or it might be over. You might just say, fuck it. I'm done. But
you wonder what drives a guy like that to want to have these headaches.
I think he really wanted to protect free speech. And that's what makes me think he's not done yet.
Yeah.
He might have uncovered so much syphilis and AIDS and debauchery and cancer in that organization that he might say, fuck, and knowing him, he's like, well, how can I AI all these people out of here? Like, how can I AI all the rules that I want and fire every single one of these motherfuckers and just have a small group of people to manage the AI? Right. Because these people all have biases and that's just never going to change. I can bring in my own whatever. But if he ran through the computations on, how to get rid of all these cancers, what the cost of buying them out of their contracts would be, the risk of litigation, start carry the two, he's weighing the money of what it's going to cost to do it. At some point, he might just say it's not fucking worth it. This. In the meantime, if he were actually to do this, I think Twitter would be worth a lot of money. You'd be bringing in a lot of businesses, like mine, that would say, "Hey, I would like to advertise on an ethical company that's not going to suppress based on what you think," because I have zero respect for that. I'm just a big First Amendment guy. And there's a lot more like me that are sitting on the sidelines going, fuck, I don't want to put my money in Twitter. These guys are a bunch of fucking cocksuckers, Anybody who's shunning the Babylon Bee, that's not somebody I want to actually do business with. Those fuckers are funny. You got to protect humor at all costs. And on that note, Andrew Schultz, we have to give him a shout out. Do you know about the Schultz story?
Tell me about it.
So Schultz, he sold his comedy special to Amazon Prime, although that's, not named by him. Okay, it's just a streaming service, but it's apparently Amazon Prime. They looked at what he submitted and said, you need to take out this joke. You need to take out the abortion jokes. You need to do, they basically tried to water down his comedy. They'd given him $1 million advance for his special. He said, I'm not going to take a single fucking thing out. Gave him back the $1 million, owned his property, and took it private. So he said, I'm going to open this up. Here's the story. I'm not going to name who did it, but I'm going to release this myself. If you guys can support, it's $15. He made his $1 million back in like 2 days. So he took the power away from the streaming services.
That's beautiful.
Threw his nuts on the table for comedy and hard comedy. I bought the special because I care about that and admire that.
That's what you just said. Put your nuts on the table. That's beautiful.
And so Andrew Schultz, cheers, man. Good job for doing that, and for everybody who supported him. Good job as well, because you can't water down comedy.
Is that our American of the week? Our tribute to our what is it? Our favorite American? Is that what it is?
Our hero of the week.
Hero, yeah. American hero of the week.
Standing up for free speech in comedy, because really at the end of the day, free speech is really the spear of free speech are our great comedians in this country that are out there fighting, in person with all these people that are a little sensitive or not so sensitive, but they're out there doing the hard work. And for Schultz to actually take $1 million that he was paid and send it to own a couple extra seconds of jokes, that's a big move. It's a big gamble. It pays off. I hope it pays off even higher in the future. I respect it, and it's amazing. And keep up the good work. So let me see what else we got, Jimmy. Any other stories out there that you've seen?
What happened?
Oh, by the way,
what do you got?
What is your favorite Howard Stern memory?
I think the time of when he was coming out with the movie and I mean the event that he created for that, I really enjoyed that. And I was first night, I was out there with all the Whack Pack wannabes.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah. Oh,
that's awesome. Yeah, that were you there for his premiere for the private part?
Oh, now wait a minute. No.
Oh.
No. I went to opening night in multiplex. I wasn't in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying
you were on Gallows Road.
Yeah, I was I was a kid, I was a listener, I was a fan, and the place was a madhouse. It was a bunch of, like I say, whack pack type guys, and it was a really cool. It was an event. It was probably one of the biggest events for a movie opening than I've ever seen. Just the fanfare.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun with that. I was I don't even know how old I was. I think I was out of high school.
Yeah, I was so loyal to all of it. I mean, I knew every whack packer, every fucking thing that happened on that show. I mean, sometimes I'd sit in my car, like I'd career. I'd sit in my car going, shit, I don't want to leave the car because there was something cool going on.
Yeah.
I mean, when Willie Nelson and Jackie had the joint rolling competition, and Willie Nelson rolled the joint in like 6 seconds. fucking flat. Willie is the only person that smoked out Snoop Dogg, and where Snoop was like, I quit. Like
he publicly said that he really.
Yeah, Snoop. There's an interview Snoop did about smoking with Willie where he's like, yeah, that's the only person that's ever made me just be like, all right, enough.
So is anybody in your estimation approach Willie Nelson? Cheech and Chong, maybe?
I think Willie's the guy there. Do you know this song, the Toby Keith?
Oh yeah.
Sure. Weed with Willie.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think he's in a class by himself. When he took Jackie Martling down with a 6-second joint. Have you ever rolled a joint? It's terrible. I mean, I first of all, the first joint I ever rolled was the day first time I got busted with weed. And it was a hideous joint. Like the
cops were just like, fuck, man, you need to act like you've been there.
No, there was no acting like I've been there. I told you about the cop laughing when I got out of the car, right? I told you that part of the story. So yeah. I'm in the back of the car. I'm reading like the Washington Post. You know what I mean? Acting like everything's cool. And I took the pot and shoved it into the crevice of the seat like they've never seen that done before.
You're a fucking genius.
And I'm literally reading the paper going, yeah, we're fucked. We're fucked because the driver was out on the side, and I could, he's at the corner. I'm in the back seat. He's in the corner, and he goes, I could smell it on you. And I go, oh, we're fucked. And I'm flipping the pages of the sports page going, yeah, we're fucked. Because we had just lit this thing up pretty recently. We weren't even out of Christiansburg yet. And he's like, okay. So he brings him to the car. I was like, yeah, this is not good. And then he's like, you get out of the car. Well, I had no shoes on. I'm white trash. I never have shoes on. This is the side of the highway. It's all gravel on the side of the highway. There's broken bottles and shit. So I'm high. And I get out of the car and I'm looking down to make sure I don't step on some massive fucking glass thing. And I run right into a road sign. And while walking, it scalped me, hit me hard because those things are thick steel, scalped me right down the side with a little bit of blood like through the thing. And my friend was in the front seat. The cop bursts out laughing. He goes, your friend, didn't he see that there? Gets me in the car. He goes, where'd you get the pot? I was like, just some guy. What's his name? Tim. I don't know who he is. I've never met him before. I think his name's John or Tim. I have no idea. He's like, yeah, here we go. So yeah, that was the first time. And then the very fucking
hey, that's that cop being patient with you, like the paintball guy.
Yeah, he was cool. He was cool. That cop was pretty cool. Like he gave us a ticket. We went on our merry way home. Very next year on the exact same day, I got busted again, but this time I was driving. And so 2 years in a row. This time they towed my car to my house too after the whole episode. So the first time,
nice.
No, not really with a parent. Your parents said, why is your car being towed? I actually had them drop it off down the street. I never told my parents the story. I just had them drop it off. I was like, this is my house. This is cool. Thank you. Thank you for the you can't drive. And I wasn't even smoking. I wasn't smoking. I was like, I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to drink. Sober as shit. They pulled me over for a broken window and saw I had an SR22, which means that you've been busted with something in the past. And you use that as an open warrant to just dig through my shit. And I had that thing, the weed, hidden under the carpet in the car, like the car carpet, like the carpet part of the car had a little hole in it. I had it shoved all the way back, and then I had the carpet pushed back in, so you could never find it, without a dog.
Found it right away.
I get out of the car, and when I get out of the car, I'm such a fat fuck. It pulled a little bit of the thing, so it popped up. Took him about 7 seconds. He pulled the ashtray open. Nothing. Oh, what's this? And I was like, how'd that get there? I've never seen it before in my life. That shit that's not mine. So yeah, those are the weed days, but those days are over. Those days are over. I barely smoke weed now. I smoke weed like once every 3 months. I used to smoke every fucking day. Every day. Are you still smoking or no?
Not regularly. I was doing it. What's that?
I said that's a yes. That pause is a yes. So once a week.
No, not particularly a yes. And I'm not going to give you numbers, but it's definitely different, than how I grew up because of the stigma and everything else. For me and the damage I did during my career, if I drank to cover that shit up, I'd be dead by the time I'm fucking 60.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, the pain and the everything. Like, right? You're just talking about the pain, your body hurting.
Yeah, body hurts all the time. Right now, it's from that fall. You remember, but hey, I mean the
run with a heavy chain. You shouldn't run with a heavy chain on like that.
My knee went out, and I'm noticing it's starting to go out more. So I'm probably got some bullshit. I have to wear a brace or something.
Well, or take a look at the knees over toes guys and start doing squats. Do you do squats or any leg pull stuff? Just do some more.
Yeah. I mean, my doctor said, Andy Wolf, my man, he said, look, man, you got a shitty fucking knee. This was 2 years ago. You got a shitty knee. I'm not going to operate on you. I'm not going to operate on anything because it's just going to fuck you up more. So no more operations. You don't fight anymore. You're done.
Oh, so he told you not to fight anymore.
No, he told me don't. I told him I'm not fighting anymore, and he told me that I'm not doing any more surgeries on you.
Well, why are you giving up your comeback as a trans boxer with?
Hey, man, listen, everything changes, and it's allowed to change. This was in the past. I have a new life. I have new beliefs. I have a new lot in life.
All right, and listen, I respect it, but I'm just very curious that one fall.
We got to find an opponent. Who am I going to fight?
Mike Sawyer.
He's not a woman, is he?
Yeah,
Wait, is he doing the change? Let him do the change too, and I'll fight it.
Well, just tell him to change. I think it works that way, right? Just say, look, can you identify? He identified as a 190, 186 pounder one time when he was fighting 150. Had to go eat a bunch of Mexican soup and shit to.
He can define as a Mexican anytime he wants.
I love the way that he actually weighed in with combat boots and jeans shoved with like lead in it in order to make weight. Oh, that's dedication to being called up as a fighter. By the way, speaking of fighter, did you see Nate Diaz slapping the reporter?
I saw my son showed me a quick thing. What was that about?
So well, let me share it so you can see it.
I'm gonna prejudge.
So Nate Diaz is just, he's gangster as shit. He just is. He's a flat out gangster. For real, he's gangster. And this guy right here, this reporter, was talking shit online about one of Nate's teammates. And then he comes up all joyous and happy to talk to Nate. And Nate had seen what he was saying online and didn't like it. And Nate's not a fake guy. So that's my read on it. A lot of other people have a whole different read where they're like, fuck Nate Diaz, what an asshole. My read is he's a true good friend has your back when you're not there. And,
right.
This is my
Stockton's finest, Nate Diaz. He's coming to check out Sugar Sean, right?
And then you can see.
Just don't give a shit.
And again, that's what we need more of. A lot of people say you can't do that. No, we need more of that.
More of that, people will start to fall in line.
You act right. You could say some crazy shit on here. If I'm out in public and Tom Hanks sees me, I fully expect that I might get in a fist fight with Tom Hanks. And by the way, I will say right now, I'll fuck Tom Hanks right up. I'll put my money on me.
God, I just wish something like that could happen. I just wish something like that could happen.
All of it, all in.
A fucking sumo wrestler beating up Tom.
Look like a big fat polar bear just rolling over.
Knocking the shit out of Forrest Gump.
I'll be like, there's your fucking Spalding, you bitch. No, I don't have any animosity towards him. I just like talking shit. But when you do talk shit like that, though, you have to understand that the world has changed where people just don't respect what they say online or on a podcast. You know what I mean?
Right.
These words have power. I'm not trying to.
But not everybody's like that. Sometimes some people want you to answer for what you said. It's not just a quippy little thing.
That's where I respect what Nate Diaz did. Now, I haven't seen what this guy said about his friend. I haven't seen, I haven't dug into that degree. All I know is that he was saying things that Nate didn't like. Now, it may be completely inappropriate. Maybe he was, saying something like what Chris Rock said, about Jada, where it was, actually kind of a compliment. You're talking about, to me, more playing a fucking, a a military person who's a Green Beret. It's nothing more badass than, and that's a compliment, but you took it, negative because your wife gave you that cross-eyed. This may have been something innocuous like that, but I doubt it. You could tell that guy is loose with his mouth, and probably a pretty good reporter too, because he seems like his energy is very positive. He actually seems like the type of guy that people probably like, but he also probably gets a little loose, with his mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
And Nate's not like the Diaz brothers aren't like that. These guys are these guys live the life that a lot of people pretend to live. These guys have lived that life. These are the guys you don't fuck with, as a family. They're serious. They've been out there fighting, they fight for money, and they've been fighting their whole lives, I'm sure.
Right.
But interesting. Did you hear about the Atlanta tablet that was blown up?
I did, and I don't even know what the hell that is. You sent me a clip of it being shot. What is this?
Not shot, but just blown to smithereens.
It looked like it was getting shot with a machine gun. I couldn't tell what was going on.
That's like a 30-foot tall granite slab reduced to dust. And the amazing thing about that, so there's a bunch of those slabs. It was called, basically the Stonehenge of the United States. And a lot of people were very upset because it talks about depopulation, and then it says good things, be good to the environment stuff. So there's a lot of people that then, people have mapped it out 666 miles from this, and it's a satanic, there's a lot to digest about this particular marker. People have, it's, New World Order, depopulation of 500 million from 7 billion. So we got to kill 6.5 billion people. Whole lot of stuff to digest. The part that's interesting for me is that it evaporated one granite stone and didn't touch the others at all. And yet they ripped the whole fucking thing down. You're talking about, they knocked it over. They didn't come in and gently, because these were still granite's expensive, man. You put a granite counter, these are like 30.
I had no idea it was that big. It looked small to me. I couldn't tell by that video.
Huge. Each one of those things probably weighs, I don't know, 5 tons. Like it's heavy. It's serious shit. And to have it evaporate and not touch the other ones is whoever did it is either really, really lucky, or they're a fucking expert at demolition, or maybe it's an act of God. Who knows? But either way, the fact that they just knocked down the other ones is bizarre, because all they had to do was rebuild the one. The whole thing is fucking weird. From the time you see it blow up to dust to the time they're just taking a bulldozer and knocking down these incredibly valuable, other
pieces. That's weird.
It's bizarre. Like, why wouldn't you just, why wouldn't you fix it? Why would you destroy the ones that are there? Either way, it's been a source of conspiracy theories for a long time. And the way that this went down from the blow up to the demolition, I think it's going to continue to be, one of those, what the fuck is happening there, for a long time, for a long time to go. So we are now sponsoring Alex the Spartan Nicholson, champion. He's a champion kickboxer. Have you seen that cat fight?
No. Where's his next fight?
Spartan's fighting on the 28th or 29th of this month for another belt. And this is a guy out of Sawyer's.
You gotta do this privately, so I know this. What's his weight? He's a kickboxer.
Yeah, he was a UFC guy. He's a big boy. So when he came in, the funny thing so when I met him, he was 185. I met him at Sawyer's gym, and he was a skinny guy, and I mean he's tall. He's like 6'2", 6'3", but the funny thing about him is, every fight they'd be like, so-and-so comes in, he's a Brazilian black belt in jiu-jitsu, he's this and that. And then Spartan would come fight and they'd say, he's an ex-basketball player. And he was one of those guys that, was just not. He didn't have the accolades. They would talk about his basketball abilities, which you don't see in fighting. That's like the type of shit you saw during UFC 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, basketball. Yeah.
As a street fighter, he plays basketball. He's a football player. See a little bit of that. But over time, so he fought in the UFC. He had some good wins. Then he fought. Had some really, really nice KOs, some real highlight KOs for the what the hell's the league called? It was on mainstream. It was on like CBS or something like that. It was on one of the mainstream things. But
the only thing I know, PKB, but that's way back, I think.
And then this cat, he started getting. So he had a son. He started getting disciplined, and all of a sudden he changed as a fighter from being like just a brawler into a fucking animal of really disciplined, very good. And he's he's the one in the blue shorts, the Nicholson shorts.
Yeah. And
now he's just picking people apart and destroying people as a heavyweight. And I've seen him win, I think 4 in a row, maybe 4 or 5 in a row. But the last fights he's had are he's just killing people. Like,
okay, you put this guy up. Okay, this is the guy you were talking about.
Yeah.
Don't forget, I got banned on Facebook.
Did you see that?
So that was the last thing I saw.
Did you?
But I didn't look into him.
Take a look.
Jesus Christ.
Take a look at it. Okay. Is this? I guess that's the basketball player part, right?
Boom. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that's not how you want to get knocked out.
Man. Good night, Irene.
It's much better to get a little chip on the back of the head or the chin. You don't want to get a full knee from a 230-pound guy running.
That's a broken orbital.
No, it might be jaw. That guy might be drinking out of a straw right now.
Right on the cheekbone. That's what that was. That
TMJ is tough to treat. They still don't really know how to treat the TMJ. So when you break that jaw right, it's tough. It'll fuck with you for a while. That's actually one of the.
So what is it? You said kickboxing. This isn't kickboxing.
No, he's fighting MMA stuff, but yeah, he has a kickboxing world title.
Oh.
But Mike's gym's produced some pretty fucking badass fighters. These are real, real fighters coming through the old UFC Winter Springs gym under the tutelage of the great Mike Sawyer. So it's nice to see that. We're gonna root for him. The company's not even live. It's just putting it on the back of his shirt. But it's nice to support, and Sawyer, it's really supporting him too in a way, because what Sawyer's put together over a pretty long run, over a 10-year run, is pretty impressive. To run a business like that,
right.
During COVID and everything else. I mean, Sawyer's scrappy as shit. He's
done beautifully.
He gets in there and just scraps. So that's pretty much all I got, man. Any final words? And
no, I think this was nice. It's good to see you, my man.
Well, the one thing we're going to add for people that are here, we're going to start talking about football and stuff too. I mean, we're just going to add sports because I'm going to talk about fucking baseball too, because baseball is extremely underappreciated by you. And I think it's one of the staples of this country, and I love it. I've played it, most of my childhood life, and I've watched it, been forced to watch it or other, and I find it just to suck as a sport. It's amazing. It's amazing. Only good if you're high, you're on mushrooms, and you're shit faced, shoving fucking hot dog peanuts. Being at the game is a different experience. Actually, I prefer so I grew up playing basketball and baseball, but I would much rather be at a baseball game than a basketball game, even though I think the sport of basketball is a much better sport. But baseball, being at the actual in a good stadium, being in Camden, although I'd like to wipe out the entire city of Baltimore around it, but being in Camden is really nice.
I was there last night, and it's just like a haven. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. It's just a great night out. And baseball is a summer. Football is a Sunday. Baseball is a summer. Excuse me.
Oh no, I know what happened. I had my phone, so the audio fucked up. I was like, well, what changed? I had put my phone on top of the microphone wire, so my phone, the 5G, was going through the wire to fuck up our audio. But yeah, Camden is a gorgeous place. Wrigley Field is a gorgeous place to see a day game. But both cities, are when you come to and from the game now, it's not as much fun. It used to.
I'd rather be at the game, and number two, I'd rather listen on the radio. Third, watch it on TV. But it's all great.
Yeah, so they have added. You and I fought about this before, but they've added such good graphical stuff to baseball to make such a boring sport more interesting visually, where they'll show, how far outside the pitch went, the how fast it was, how much it moved, all those dynamics. If they bring that same technology to boxing, I think boxing is going to go up to a whole nother level. They don't have to do it during the live fight, but during the mid round, like in between rounds,
the replays.
Yeah, a couple of hey, this traveled at 42 miles an hour and it landed with this much, impact, and showing some of those portions to bring the fans in, and especially on when you're scoring the fights. That's one of the things that I fucking hate about all combat sports is you could theoretically have 2 rounds where you throw and land 1 jab and win a 10-9 round. And then in the other round, the other guy throws, 65 punches and you land 15 more punches, and you get a 10-9 the other way, and you lose and you win the fight based on throwing 2 jabs. It
doesn't happen like that. I think there's still common sense used.
Sometimes, but not really. There's a lot of that. You say that it doesn't happen.
I don't think that anybody looks at those 2 rounds the same.
The
blind.
Serrano fight was like that. Serrano won way more rounds, and she had the only dominant round in the fight, and she didn't get the decision.
You're still bitter over that.
Well, I mean, it's a perfect example. It's recent. I could go back further, but the further away it is, the less people.
The more I know it.
The more you know it. But yeah. So I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but it'd be nice if they came up. So actually, DraftKings does a really good job of showing points for the UFC fights. They'll show I'm watching Anima versus Armfield right now, but they'll have control. So you get it's very limited the amount of points you can get for control, but you get points for control or being on the aggressive. That could easily apply to boxing.
It's ring generalship.
Ring generalship. How much you pressing? How much are you in control? It's sort of like soccer. When you have the ball.
But it's effective aggressiveness. It's got to be effective.
Effective pressing of the action, and they give you a teeny little thread of points for time, and if you have enough of it, it can actually make a difference. How many jabs, how many power punches, and then everything else would not apply. Submissions or leg kicks, that's not going to apply to boxing, but the other stuff, so they can quantify pretty good scoring system. And then instead of just having it be 10-9 10-9, it could be who has the most points over the course of the fight. Instead, so each round, but it changes the whole sport though, right? Like it's not
change the whole sport.
It's not the same sport, but
right.
But it would make the judging so much fucking more fair.
I can see that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I could see that.
It'll never happen because boxing people are, they're very old school. Like the old school blood runs through them, which explains why I got yelled at for my top 10. So I'm looking forward to get yelled at again. Go enjoy your family. God bless you guys. Is your dog still alive?
Yeah, dude, I don't know what the fuck to say about that. It's just weird. It's weird.
If my dog dies, which was completely healthy when this started, before your dog dies, I'm going to actually laugh my ass off about that. And I do love this dog, but it's still gonna be it's gonna be fucking hilarious. All right, man. Have a good one. Enjoy your
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too. Nice chain. Keep that look. That should be your new look.
My man.
All right. Bye.